It's now shortly after the airing of the series finale of Lost. I've been saying since mid-season 2 of this show that the writers had no big plan. They were making it up as they went along. All of this was just heading nowhere. A lot of people told me to just be patient. There was a big plan in the works. Everything would make sense by the series' end. Well, the series is over now, and all I have to say is, booyah! I was right. This series is just drowning in its unanswered questions. Like, why was Walt so special? What were his big powers? Why should we have cared that the statue only had 4 toes? Who were those people in the outrigger canoe that were chasing the heroes during that one time jump in season 5? Why was Desmond able to just leap around through different timelines and universes besides his own specialness? And mind you, these are all just off the top of my head. I'm sure I could come up with many, many more just digging through each episode. Probably the most baffling to me is why did the Man in Black get stuck in the form of John Locke, and how did Alana know this? Because you'd think they'd at least try to resolve the questions that they raised in this very season. Oh, and then there's the most important one of all. The center of the island, the heart of the island. The big thing that all this fighting has been over is light. Saying that, it's still hard to believe for me. You spent 6 years building up this whole huge mystery of what all these people would be willing to kill and kidnap and torture and do who knows else what, being very vague about their motivations all the time. And then the big answer for why they were doing all this is light. I think we can all agree we deserved a little bit more than that. Oh, and then perhaps the biggest insult of all, this whole flash sideways thing, it's just purgatory. A little space that has been set aside for these people to meet up with each other again before they enter heaven. Now, I should point out first, this means that a bit earlier in the season, Desmond was able to get bombarded with electromagnetism and briefly break into purgatory, which is a little ridiculous. But also, beyond that, it means the whole thing literally was just one huge waste of time. About half the screen time of this season was spent in this supposed Flash Sideways universe that's really purgatory. And what did any of it mean? You wasted all that time in this place that you could have spent answering the questions you'd built up. I have no idea at all what kind of lesson I'm supposed to take from all this. In fact, you know what it really reminds me of? Heavy Metal. That's the movie that I did a recap for on the Agony booth, which, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's this anthology movie of different episodes where they have a wraparound story of a little girl trying to be corrupted by this glowing ball of doom. And they were clearly very desperate to have some kind of resolution for that wraparound, so they just hastily reached back into the very last story that was told and brought some elements of it into the wraparound, even though it made no sense to do so, and there was no kind of real payoff for any of that. And that is a very sad statement for a series whose writers have insisted all along that they were heading towards this huge goal, and we would all know exactly what we needed to by the show's end. It's just so good to win one once.